Hello, everyone. We are here with my friend Donna. She has been on a podcast before, but she is up to some new and exciting stuff. And so I wanted to bring her back to talk about getting visible in a more authentic way. Welcome to the podcast, Donna.
Thank you, Carolyn. I'm happy to be here. I always love to spend time with you.
Oh, same. So much fun. So I know that you have gone from having like a big business and you pared it down to like doing just one thing, and now you're sort of starting to build it back up, just putting in only what you want to be doing, which I
Yeah,
super admire.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
it's really doing what I've been doing all along. I've kind of come full circle. So, what happened was I had built myself into an agency that I didn't want. And my son is off at college now, so I don't really have to take care of anybody on a day-to-day basis. And I didn't want to have a big team. I didn't want to have these big projects that I was beholden to. So what I did was I realized that, speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, always needed help with their marketing assets. So I started to create these videos and I was calling them mixtapes. And I'm still doing them. I actually am working on one right now for a client. But when I went through that whole process of creating these mixtapes, I realized that there were parts of the work that I was doing before that I never recognized. And it was the part that I really loved doing. But because I was so busy doing all the other things I didn't want to do, I lost sight of the work that I was really bringing to the table, which was helping people connect with their stories. Because, like, when you work for a while, whether it's a business or a job or just life in general, you lose things along the way.
Mm.
And when you lose things along the way, you have these little gaps. And um, you have this gap within yourself. So you have this gap in your own self communication. And then that goes external. And that's when you have these gaps in your marketing where things feel like they're going to hit, but they don't really hit. And
Mm.
then you start reaching out and you look for your answers externally. And that's when people start hiring, the coach they don't need, or buy this tool they don't need, or make
Or
this
build up a
investment
whole big team that they don't actually want because
team.
everybody says that's
Exactly.
what you have to
Yeah,
do.
I mean, like, I did that because I was doing what the client needed. So my business just kept growing based on what the client needed, not what I wanted to provide. So I actually took myself through this whole process that I had taken clients through for years and never realized it. And as I was doing it, I mean, I went through 40 years of working because I started working in like 1983. And I started to go through that whole process and I called it try to new because in the middle of this, ChatGPT came out.
Tried
So
it.
it was
I
the
love
tried
it.
and true strategies with the new technology and how do we make all this work together. So what I did was I built it into a community, like group membership type thing, and it's called BeVisible.club. And I've had 12 people going through that for the last couple of months as a beta, and we're just opening it up now. But when I was preparing for this interview, actually, like in the last 2 weeks, all of these things happened, which always happens for my clients, but this has never happened to me. Like, the stars aligned, right? Like, I mean, I people were reaching out to me from all over the place. So I got invited to speaking opportunities, and I'm talking podcasts. Being invited to be a guest expert in a community, um, uh, virtual things, and also live events. And I didn't get everything, but it all opened up because I'm in alignment. My story's in alignment. Everything I'm saying is in alignment, and I'm connecting with the right people. And then, like, people reached out to me about my club, and they were like, "Well, that sounds great, but I just want to hire you. Can I do that too?" I'm like, "Sure." And it was basically the same service that I did for years. And so I went full circle with all of this.
Wow.
And just because I put myself in the driver's seat and I decided I'm going to build something that is works for me, where I'll be able to help people doing the work I really enjoy, it's all really aligning. And
So
so I
it
wrote a whole
feels
big.
like good doing the like working with people one on one and saying yes to that is not like misaligned.
Yes, it's the same work, and that's what I always did. I had a group program years ago, and everything stemmed from that, and, that's how I got these bigger clients, and then I let that go because the bigger clients were taking so much time, but they were taking so much time because I stepped outside of my zone of genius. It's like, "Oh, you need a website? Sure. You need funnels? Sure." I don't wanna do any of that stuff.
That's exactly where I've been landing too. I love funnels. That's just one package. I
Mhm,
build a funnel. That's it.
mhm.
You want that other stuff? I'll send you to someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. I have more than that. So it's the fill the gaps in your story, audience development, content development strategy, and PR.
And you have a whole system that kind of works together
Yeah.
to get that visibility in an authentic way.
Yes, and it is the same system I've been using since like 2010.
The fundamentals.
I mean, a lot has changed. This was really challenging because um, when AI came into the picture, I was ready to launch something the first week of December, and November 30th AI, ChatGPT came out, and I
Mm,
was like, "Well, there goes that."
oh boy.
And I realized I had to change everything. So, it was gonna be like a 6-week cohort thing, and what I created is more of a community because it's just gonna change constantly, and we need to always stay on top of this and be ready to change at a moment's notice, and the only way to do that is in community. So I built it
Mm,
into a community with the work in there. The curriculum is there, and the community is there, and the support is there. And so far, so good. It's been great. And then, just having that realization that, um, I was my own case study, and now it's working. And I don't have a giant list, and I don't have a giant following, but it's all happening, and it's happening very intentionally, and that's a big part of the message that I really want to put out there is it doesn't need to be big. It just needs
mhm.
to be really aligned to what you do.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a lot of people are starting to get sick of the drive, 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 hustle, hustle. Like, got to be $1 million business, got to be this big thing. It's like, actually, is that what I want? Or do I want to provide for my family, feel comfortable, be able to go on vacation when I feel like it?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to dream quite that big.
Well, one of the biggest clients I had paid me an enormous amount of money, but at the end of the day, between what I paid in contractors and what I paid in taxes, it wasn't
Mm,
worth it.
wow.
It
Yeah.
wasn't worth it. And, that's the one that really got me thinking, is this what I really want? My son was going off to college, and I was like, this is my time now. I did my work.
Yes.
And is this how I want to be spending this part of my life? And the answer was no. And it was hard to stop. I mean, I've turned
Mm,
clients away that were ready to pay me a lot of money,
mm, wow. Yeah, you
but
have
I
to
didn't.
be really confident, secure in your boundaries to be able to do that.
Um, you know what? I mean, this will take us to another part of the conversation, but I'm 59 years old. And when you reach a point in your life where like there's there's more behind you than in front of you, you just think about time differently.
Mm,
And I don't want to waste any time. I really
yeah.
don't. I really don't. And
So with the
I'm sorry.
membership, you said that 12 people have been going through it, and now you're opening it back up. Is it something that people can join at any time, or does it have to
Mhm.
be like we have to go through this?
No, no, I set it up so it's just rolling because we're all at different stages in our business, and this is all going to change constantly. And so much of the work that I do, you need to go back to, and you need to kind of look at it again. You always have to be looking at your stories, like how do the new pieces fit into what you already have? And if something new comes in, does that mean you need to let something go? Like, have you moved past that? So you have to do this constant evaluation. And with the audience too, like, where are where is your audience? I mean, so many new platforms are opening up. So many people have left Twitter and they're going to Threads, or they have a Substack, or there are all of these different places. So where are they? I mean, so we need to kind of be aware of what all these things are, and it's so hard as a small or solo business owner to keep track of all of this movement.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did last week or 2 weeks ago, I hosted a roundtable event because I was like, this is really different. I need to market this differently. And it was so much fun. I mean, I only announced it like 2 days before I was doing it, and I had 30 people sign up, and we had 15 people on
Wow.
Zoom, and we just talked about AI, and we talked about what everyone was doing. I gave a really brief presentation just to kind of show where I was, and then I just opened it up, and we were sharing ideas, we were sharing fears, we were screen sharing and showing different tools that we're using. And I got a really nice message from somebody who attended afterwards, and he said, we all get stuck in like our own viewpoint, looking through our own lens and what we're familiar with. And he said it was just so interesting to see how everybody has a different vantage point of like how they're using this and what it means to them.
Mm.
And I think that's where we are with so many different things right now. So, I don't want to be the one that sits in the front of the room that tells you what to do. I want to be the one that pulls people together where we can have open discussions about this to see what works. And it's maybe it's going to work for a day. Who knows?
So you have people like trying things out, reporting back,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no,
seeing how things
and,
go.
and nobody has all the answers. Not at any other time has everybody had all the answers. Now, even more so.
Mm.
So, I just want to, create this place of curiosity, of learning, of exploring, of figuring it out as things change.
Mm.
Because there are so many um, pros and cons of all of this new technology, but the one thing that it does is it gives people like us an advantage. It really levels the playing field,
Mm.
just as it did like in the early days of social media and the early days of the internet. We're there again.
Yeah,
And
I
if
was thinking this reminds me of when Kindle first came out, and as authors being on there, like, try this, let's do this, let's see
Mhm,
about this, and like people becoming millionaires on 99-cent books.
exactly,
It's a
exactly.
roller coaster.
And the only way to really be involved in that is to be in these communities where you can feel safe to, to talk about your ideas, talk about the things that scare you, try something without fear of failure. So that's what I wanted to create, some place that was that. And so far it has been. It's been really fun. And I don't know, it's just the beginning.
So if I'm a brand new person and I'm interested in this, once I sign up, what's the very first thing that happens?
I have everything built out on the Heartbeat platform,
Oh,
which is like a membership site. So you'll get invited to join there, and then there is like a little code of conduct thing you look through, and then there's a start here section where you kind of like go through, what's in there and a little tour of the whole thing and like where you should start, which is about around like going through your story. It's really like a story audit, like a content
mm,
audit, but nobody likes the word audit, so I found better words to use. Um, and start there, and then just take your time. I mean I originally I was selling a monthly option or an annual option, but I let go of the monthly option because it's not a monthly thing.
yeah, you can't just go in and like get all the info.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. It's a place to kind of come in and be thoughtful and explore, and there's no, pressure to finish any of the content. And you might just come in and need one piece of it. You might not be interested in the whole media piece, or you might not be creating a bunch of content, but you know, come in and take what you need, and explore and learn and connect with people. And I think that there are so many layers of things that we sometimes miss out on working by ourselves.
Mm.
And I just wanted to create a space where we weren't doing this alone because with all of the changes, it's like where you could just sit there for a week and get nothing done and think, where do I even start?
Yes.
And the other thing that happens too is like when things change so fast, you start to feel like everything that you did in the past is irrelevant. So then you start to like your confidence takes a hit.
Mm.
But when you start to go back on your story and you realize all the things that you've accomplished that got you where you are to today, it changes how you feel about yourself. And then you can step out in, a renewed confidence.
It's that
And
coming full circle, like you were talking about, you did, and I've recently done too. I've gone back to a career I gave up on 20 years ago. And you're right, it does feel like I was carrying some low confidence and low self esteem because, oh, I'm a failure and I didn't see it through. And so,
yeah,
yeah, it feels good
yeah.
to return to my
And because
place.
there's nobody there to tell you you're not a failure, right? Because you're sitting there alone.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, have you seen the show? I think it's on Peacock, but it's called The Swedish Death Cleaning.
I've heard a book about that.
Yeah, it was a book, and then they turned it
I didn't
into a
know it was a
show,
show.
and that's kind of what this is. It's like because in the book and the show, you go through everything that you have while you're still alive, and then you could actually make meaningful decisions about what happens to your stuff. And that's what this is kind of like. It's like before you close up your business, you're gonna start. They're gonna look through everything you've ever done and turn it into something else. It's like the great upcycling.
Oh, I love
And
that. That sounds fun.
there was one scene that really jumped out at me in that show. There were a bunch of different episodes, but there was one woman who was like a retired Las Vegas showgirl, and she had this house that was bordering on hoarders with like all kinds of freaky stuff from like living in Las Vegas and being a showgirl for so many years. And like if she would have passed away, somebody would have gone in there with a dumpster and thrown everything out. And there was one thing, she had several like handmade crocheted blankets that her grandmother had made for her, and they would have tattered and stained and old and in total disarray. And had somebody been cleaning out her home after she passed away, they would have totally been thrown away. But what this team did was they took those blankets and they restored them, they cleaned them, and they mended them, and they packaged them beautifully in boxes and wrote cards and gave them to her granddaughters.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
And that's how I'm kind of feeling about like what people could do with their businesses.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. So let me ask you another question. Is there like an application? Are there only certain people that you're bringing in?
Not now, because my goal is to get 10 people a month until I hit 100. When I hit 100, I'm closing the doors.
Mm,
And the only way you'll get in at that point is if somebody leaves. And I'm hoping it's a place
yeah.
nobody ever wants to leave.
Yeah. So maxing it at 100. That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I want it to be, um, you know, intimate and safe and a place where you can come and like work through your stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, we've had almost every call, somebody has cried. One of the members wanted to invite in her assistant, and I was like, no. Well, I can create a separate version where she can have access to the content, but the calls are for the members only.
How often are the calls? Is that like a once a
Twice,
week, once a
twice a
month,
month.
twice a month? Nice.
Hmm. Yeah, twice a month, and they've all gone over an hour.
Mm.
And they're supposed to be an hour. They've all gone over an hour, and it's like it's not. There's nobody in there 10xing anything. It's just they're reconnecting. Like we have one guy that's in there he was diagnosed with a hearing impairment when he was 5 years old, and now he is a preacher and he works with people that are kind of on the fringe. He works with like punk rockers, and he works with people in recovery, and he works with people that are unhoused, and but he never talked about his hearing impairment.
Mm.
And we spent an hour like discussing, not just me but everybody, discussing this with him, and how like it's really important that he talks about this. And he changed everything that he's doing. He changed his entire website. He changed everything, um, because he never talked about it before, and now he's working with people that have some kind of disadvantage, and he's now showing up with his version of his disadvantage. And
Mm. It's
he
so
said,
powerful, that
yeah,
authenticity and vulnerability.
but he never spoke about it, and he never spoke about the impact that it's had in his life, and like the impact that it had between the ages of like birth and 5, when he didn't know.
Mhm.
It was diagnosed when he was in kindergarten. And like the first thing he ever said to me was, I flunked kindergarten. I was like, wait, stop there.
How is that possible?
So that's what this is. I don't think that there's anything else out there like this. It's special. And then, when we roll into the media piece of it, I'll be bringing media opportunities in, going out and finding them, and
Ooh, that's very powerful.
yeah, and then the AI piece is like that's what we're kind of playing with now, is like figuring out how to use it practically, like not just randomly, but like here is like a business challenge. How are we going to use this tool to save time, or to, create something better than we could have created without it, or to just, find out what my possibilities are. So it's a different approach, and it's not for everyone, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But
So if it's not for everyone, is there like a trial period or
there's a 30-day guarantee, refund
ah,
policy, and
nice.
if you don't want to be in within those 30 days, just let me know and you get reimbursed. But I think that the people that will come in will see themselves in the communications around it, and um, you know,
Yeah,
I,
probably your marketing is attracting the right people to begin with.
I think so, because it's really narrowed. I mean, like just in the last 2 weeks, like I mentioned, like all these things just started happening, and that's what always happened for my clients.
Mm.
Like they would never attribute it to the work we did. If the stuff would just start happening, and it hit me the other day. I was like, "Oh my god, it's happening for me."
It must be from the work that you were doing because that's the common thread there.
Yeah. So,
Amazing.
yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about it. And, it's a business that will not kill me to maintain. And
That's important.
it's fun. And I'm excited about it. And I haven't been this excited about my work in a long, long time.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Oh, I'm delighted.
And then there's the other thing that came about during this whole, Swedish death cleaning of my business process. I woke up on February 17th with an idea that Forbes isn't the only organization that should have a 50 over 50 list. And I started the real 50 over 50. I started to do some keyword research, which is always my first go to. And all of the keywords and phrases and topics that came up about being over 50 were about how to date, what not to wear, what not to eat. You're dying slowly every day. And there was nothing positive. And then I just started to look at the people that I knew, and I made a list of 50 women that I know over the age, that I personally know over the age of 50, that are doing incredible work, changing lives. It took me 15 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you made the list much longer than 50 now. 'Cause
Yeah, we're up to about 65, and there's still a bunch of people that need to get their stuff into me. I'm gonna go for 200 and see what happens after that. But we have 17 or 18 interviews done. We have interviews booked all the way to May 1st, 2024. Every week we do a weekly interview, Wednesdays at noon on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And collectively, we have a reach of over 600,000 people. And I haven't even started the media yet. Next up is panels of people that are like in the group that talk about the same topics, and media outreach.
Mhm. So is there a website where each profile is like
Mhm.
listed and you see their interview?
Yep. The real 50over50.com. And it's got everything is on that webpage. There's links to the interviews, links to the replays, individual spotlight pages for each one of the speakers, and a list of upcoming interviews.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I absolutely, it's my favorite time of the week.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, there's so much to look forward to, and I see a lot of young people who are discouraged about aging, which I'm sure has always been the case. But, I just want to say to them, like, there's so much good yet to come. Don't feel like your 20s are going to be good. Like, they're going to suck, especially when you look back at everything better that comes later.
Yeah, and well, what happens, I'm not a big demographics person. I focus more on values and interests and what people care about. And but there's something distinct that happens when you turn 50. And it's like you've got this no bullshit button and it gets activated. And then as you get older, like I'm edging up on 60, and that no bullshit button is so in tune.
I was just in a group the other day that they were saying the same thing. All the other ladies there were over 50 except for me. And they were like, yep, there's something that just happens.
And what happens is it just uncovers this like unbridled joy because you just don't care. I mean, I never was one to really care what people thought. I always did my own thing, but this is a whole different level. It's a whole different level, and we've got women all the way up to 85 years old so far.
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and they're doing incredible work. They're healers and they're doctors and they're lawyers, and they're like changing the way things are done, and they're embracing new technology, and they're smart and creative and kind, and that they care. Like they care in a way that you can't even imagine. I mean, the conversations we end up having before and after the interviews are great too, and like one of the things that I have been adamant about is that it doesn't turn into a pitch fest.
Mhm.
And we're all in business and we all want to grow our businesses, and that'll all happen, but just have conversations. And the one thing that is consistent, and I've gone through all their profiles, spoken to these women, spoken to other women, they want to leave a legacy of some kind. They want to leave something that matters and do work that matters, that is going to make a difference for the way people live in the future. And that's what drives them.
It's back to that Swedish death cleaning mindset.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I sat and I watched that. I binged the whole thing in an evening. And half the time I was crying, half the time I was laughing, and then I was taking notes throughout. I was like, this is what I just did.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, it just feels like everything came together. All the things I've done. For so long I had the that was then, this is now mentality.
Mm.
Everything's got to be new. But you know what? You don't have to burn all the boats to create something new.
That's where that like tried and new motto is just so perfect, so fitting. Yes.
Yeah,
Bring those
'cause
things together into the optimal everything. Don't
yeah,
don't
and
have
it's a trust
anything burned.
it's a trust factor too, because people are not really going to get on board with where you're going if they don't know you. But if you have your content set up that's sharing what you've done in the past, they're going to build a relationship with that content. And then by
Mm,
the time they get to you, they've got this relationship, and everything that you've done in the past is now, it's the vessel they hop on board to go with you into the future.
mm.
But they're not going to just like, oh, you're doing that? Yeah, I'm there. Here's my money. They're not going to do that. They need, and I think that there is such a deficit in trust right now, that what used to take 7 or 10 or 15 or even 20 touch points is going to take twice that. And realistically, as small businesses, we can't do that. So, like, how do you build what you have? And most of the content portion of this is repurposing content because, like, what do you have floating around in your Dropbox and your Google Drive?
Yes.
How many lifetimes of content?
Absolutely. Very true.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I worked with one author, and I just said to her, why don't you send me what didn't get into your book?
Mm.
And we turned that into a marketing plan because it was all about the same thing, but she wasn't giving away what was in the book.
So smart. I love it.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, a lot very creative, and um, you know, very flying by the seat of my pants.
I love to see everything that you're up to. So we do have a link for the BeVisible Club in the description, so everyone can go and check that out and learn more. And do you have any last pieces of wisdom you would like to leave us with?
Just, take a look at what you're doing. Take a look at what you already have. We have already, I mean, whether you're over 50 or not, we have already worked. Each and every one of us has worked more than one lifetime. And we all have the answers that we need. We do not need to look externally for them. So when you start to look back and see what you already have, you start to create this new way of making decisions that really works for you instead of against you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for letting me come share about this because I'm just so excited about it.
Oh, yes, me too. I can feel your excitement, which is wonderful. All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.